Hey guys, this is Ryan from Matt Kite and Ben from Foil Drive, and today we're just going over a few quick tips on what you should be doing every time you get off the water with your foil drive. That's a common question I get. People call into the shop, hey, I just got my unit, gonna head out this week. What kind of maintenance do I need to do to make sure that this thing stays ready to go every time I want to ride and really get long-term performance out of it?
Exactly. So we got to remember that this is electronics in salt water or fresh water. We are out in the big bad world where everything wants to eat everything. Same with foil gear. You've always got to look after it, all your bolts and hardware and all your foils. So a motor system, a battery system is much the same. So main key things, let's just pretend we've come just in from the water. Obviously remove your battery. It's a bit of a misconception that while the battery's in the unit, it is actually powered up. You've got all the electronics in the back here, your Bluetooth module, your speed controller are all powered up as soon as the battery's plugged in. So make sure you remove that when you get out of the water so that you don't run your battery flat. You should be cleaning everything down, as with all your foil gear. Give it a good spray off with some fresh water. And even if, here we're on the lake obviously, so it's fresh water, but it's always good to just clean everything down. There's lots of natural minerals and all that kind of stuff that might affect things long term, but certainly in salt water, give everything a good rinse down. You don't need to squirt water inside the box or anything like that. That should always be completely dry, but everything externally. And then we should be removing our rotor by just simply getting it nice and straight behind you and pulling it out nice and smoothly and straight. And you can spray off the inside of the rotor, all inside the motor, get nice high pressure water, even if it's just from a drink bottle, squirt it all in around all the little gaps to clean everything off. And a pro tip from us is we don't put the rotor back on the stator. We just leave them as two parts, then everything can dry and clear out and clean out and get dry. A little bit of marine grease on the motor shaft also helps you slide it in and out, especially if you're in the salt water. Keep those two things separate and make sure everything's nice and clean and dry and doesn't have sand everywhere. So that's really as basic as it gets for everyday use. As soon as you jump out of the water, give everything a clean down like always.
Cool. What about the connections here? You got a connection here, battery connection here. Anything I should be doing with that on a regular basis? Yeah, so we include the little tube of battery grease, and that's a special grease that is non-conductive but allows for protection of these plugs, both for the motor plug and the battery plug. So you'll want to keep that nice and clean, and being a grease, it can attract or stick sand and stuff to it, so make sure all those are clean and always reapply that grease if it's starting to get dry to make sure that that's fully protected. Again, especially if you're in salt water. But if you're using your gear all the time, say you're in the water every day, this quick cleanup of just making sure everything's clean is great. But you should also let's call it once a week or every few weeks, you should also completely disassemble everything, undo all the screws, pull the rotor off, clean all that, clean up all your screws, undo this 3 screws for your motor plug and pull all that stuff apart. Because again, we're in especially salt water, stainless steel and aluminium, carbon, lots of different materials here that over time react differently to salt water and minerals and all that kind of stuff. Want to pull everything apart, clean it all, much the same as any water sports gear. You always want to do a bit of a once over. But yeah, that's some basics on the motor plugs and battery and all the bolts, I guess. Next question, battery storage.
Yep.
So I use the unit down to 10, 20% battery life.
Yep.
Should I just leave it until next time I go out? Should I charge it up fully and leave it on the charger? What do I want to?
Yeah, we get this question a lot, and it's obviously the batteries are fairly decent investment into this system. And while it is rechargeable, it must be understood that batteries are technically a consumable item. You can fill up that jerry can full of potential energy a number of times, but eventually the jerry can is worn out and needs to be replaced. Batteries are much the same. Think about your phone or your laptop after a year or two. They just don't last as long. But you can improve that longevity of your battery by doing some simple things. Basic stuff to answer the question. If you come in at 10%, you really should, what we recommend is pull the battery out, and while you're cleaning everything, put the battery on the charger for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it may be. And that'll just get the battery back up to sort of 30, 40, 50%, something like that. And that's a much happier place for lithium batteries to sit. They really like to spend time at around 50% charge. So the longer or the more time they can spend sitting in that kind of charge rate, the happier they are, because that's sort of their happy medium. get in from a session, charge it back up while you clean up your gear, pull it off, maybe have a shower, whatever, pull it off, and it's sitting at that nice little value. It's really nice to have a battery checker for that, because then you can just plug this in and see where it's at. And by the same token, charging the battery up, we really want to charge the battery just before we go and use it. It's not a big deal if you leave it fully charged for a couple of days or even a week every so often, but don't make a habit of coming in from a session, charging the battery and just leaving it fully charged all the time, because that's when things really start to degrade faster, because the battery's all energized and ready to go, and it's just sitting there. It's like giving kids sugar before bed. You want to, you know, give it to them, let them use all their energy and put them back to bed at a nice energy level. So batteries are kind of the same, think of it that way. As well as, like we're here where it's pretty cold, keeping the batteries at a nice sort of temperate level, not leaving them in your basement over winter where they're going to get really, really cold, or leaving them in super hot cars in hot climates. They don't really like that massive temperature fluctuation. The best you can leaving them sort of around, you know, a nice comfortable indoor temp, the better. As well as, there's so many factors that go into this about using the battery really quickly, using the fast charger, keeping getting the batteries like warm while they're being used and then putting them straight on charge is not particularly good for them. The sort of calm and collected we can treat our batteries, the better. But all batteries will degrade over time. You will get to a certain period, which varies greatly about how you use it, where your battery just doesn't feel as punchy anymore and doesn't last as long. So that there's nothing we can do about that. I wish there was, but humanity doesn't. This is where we're at. These are the best batteries we can get our hands on, and it's just a part of it. Fuel goes bad over winter, batteries go bad over time. It's just one of those things. But yeah, that's sort of on the batteries. I guess further to that as well, like winterizing the whole system. If you live in a place where maybe you're going on holidays for a couple of months, or you know that over winter you're not going to use it, winterizing things, again, pull everything apart, give it a really good clean, get your batteries to a nice 50% sort of level, keep them inside, keep all your gear nice and dry and in a you know, reasonable place. But yeah, pull everything apart, grease it all up, even leave it disassembled over winter so that when you come back in summer, everything can be put back together and freshly re-greased and away you go. But like everything, look after your gear and it'll look after you and keep you having heaps of fun out there.
All right, this has been Ryan from Macite and Ben from Foil Drive. I hope that you found some of these maintenance tips helpful. Always reach out to us if you've got any questions, give us a ring, shoot us an email, drop a comment below.